a mid laner coming from the North American ladder is actually like going to know less about the game than a fresh mid laner off of the South Korean ladder, off of the Chinese ladder, off of the European ladder. Like that's, and I'm not like trying to rag and say that NA sucks, because that is actually not the point. I still think the top talent does rise to the top, but it does take more effort and energy to develop these players. And so I think that's another reason why you see teams being like, well, the one position we don't want to risk is mid, because we need that control point on the map.
If it breaks, then the rest of the map
yeah,
just
exactly.
topples over.
Like, and that is actually something that I think is kind of underrated when talking about why NA mids are not being given a chance.
I want to talk about Ryoma really quickly.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, you were also there in Connecticut. When we first heard about Ryoma, I was upset. I was like, what's going on? You were there. I was like, this is...
Yeah, it was on the free agent. It was on the free agency show for people who don't know.
Or even before that, when we were at dinner prepping for the show the night before, like I was like going on a rant of Ryoma. Why Ryoma? Why not DeMonte? He fits the 100 Thieves brand so much better. But then I think as the weeks have gone by, I actually really do like the move for 100 Thieves. And I think the reasoning is that Ryoma is I think he speaks English fluently, obviously from Australia. He's young, he's 20. He's very mechanically gifted. He's been on the NA server for what, like I believe like a few weeks, and he's already top 100. Like he's a very talented young player who can communicate with the team well. Doesn't need any training with that. And there's no difference between that and an anime laner, right? Like the language barrier has always been a big thing with coming with imports.
And cultural barriers.
And culture barriers, where I don't think there's going to be any of that. He has Papa Smithy as a general manager. Like, I feel like I was very short-sighted in thinking, like, oh, you have to get an anime laner. Like DeMonte might be better than Ryoma. Ryoma might be better than DeMonte, but you have to invest in the NA talent. And I don't think that is the right case. When obviously, and I think the thing that really shifted me over to saying, like, I actually do like the move of Ryoma is that Papa Smithy did say they had trials.
Yeah, that was the one thing I was going to bring up.
They actually trialed him and had him set up against other mid laners, and he performed the best. And if you tell me that, I'm like, there's no English barrier, there's no culture barrier. He's young, so there's a lot of you can invest into. He's only 20, so he's a player that you can invest the next 5 or 6 years into and building into a big star. And I think that's actually a good signing by. And if he doesn't turn out, they have Saligo. So I think the thing is you have to look at the mid lane situation at 100 Thieves as not just Ryoma, but you have Saligo too. You have two really good, promising 20, 21-year-old mid lane talents, and Saligo coming off the Twitch Rivals win on Shadow Dogs Unleashed, undefeated, 10-0.
I know no one watched Academy, but he was insane in Academy.
Isn't that a problem though? I think that's a problem that we have to highlight though, is that Saligo got more attention, more praise, and more traction from that 1 week tournament with streaming of Tyler 1 than he did in a year of playing on Academy, where he won Academy. He wasn't just a player in Academy, he was a star player on the Academy winning team, and he's more highly rated than ever because he won a Twitch Rivals tournament where he dumpstered streamers and influencers and Golden Glue.
Well, I think that's one of the things that a lot of people brought up and Kelsey actually specifically, the coach of 100 Thieves Academy, brought this up. There's not a lot of attention on any amateur tournaments. Like half the time they aren't streamed. If they are streamed, sometimes it's just someone throwing up the stream with like no commentary. It's just kind of there. People don't know about when amateur events take place. I can say that the biggest amateur event outside of something like Twitch Rivals or TCS.
TCS is the biggest.
I didn't want to accidentally call it TCL.
The Tyler 1 championship series. But that's a problem, right? Like, where Tyler 1, a streamer, a very good streamer, but a streamer nonetheless, who was banned 2 years ago, is the best production, and he has done more for NA, like coming up, like up and coming talent, than Riot has done outside of Scouting Grounds. I think Scouting Grounds is amazing. I think Scouting Grounds has helped a lot of players, especially Vulcan, Blabber, who were both on Team Ocean 2 years ago, now starting on Cloud9. But outside of
Fake God, Spica, even though I know his start was like not fortuitous because he was really shoved into a rough position, kind of like Leon on IG. But I think that he had can maybe prove that he's a really good jungler. I mean, there's a lot of talent that's coming out.
So I think it's scouting round, and then we have the TCS. And I'm not even, that sounds like a joke, that sounds like a meme, but it's not. It goes scouting round. I've heard this from many players that scouting rounds is like a really great opportunity. Fake God wouldn't even gone pro if he didn't go to that event. He was going to go to college and just play League of Legends on the side. So scouting grounds, I think, is the best, thing we have in North America to produce younger talent. I would like to see more resources, maybe a longer, maybe instead of, a weekend, you turn that into a 2-week or a 3-week event. And then we have the TCS, and not even joking, the TCS and playing with Tyler One and Twitch rivals gives you more attention and gives you more clout and more perception of how good you are than anything else. Sligo has never had his stock higher than it is now, and it's because he played on Shadow Dogs Unleashed, and they destroyed everyone.
Well, one thing I wanted to bring up about scouting grounds, to piggyback off of what we've been talking about with amateur doesn't get a lot of attention. There's not a lot of amateur events. The only attention that you could say is given is typically through collegiate, because colleges want to make it known that their collegiate programs are really strong. With amateur events, I think scouting grounds is really interesting because the existence of scouting grounds is really good. The fact that it's kind of one of the only things that you can have it's one, like if I'm an amateur player, I'm looking at the landscape and I'm like, okay, what events are actually going to get me on the radar in terms of how good I am? Scouting grounds is probably the top one. Then it's like Tyler One Championship. If something like Twitch Rivals comes up, it's like that. Yeah. And that is a huge issue because, not just because it's like only one event and there's so much pressure on this one event, because that's also a problem. But the thing with scouting grounds is that it comes right after Worlds. And one thing that we haven't touched upon is the fact that the League of Legends schedule, the League of Legends competitive schedule is nuts. Like if you compare it to any traditional sport, if you win, you are essentially like not punished for winning, but your schedule could easily be from mid-January to mid-November. The fact that teams themselves have a very limited window, because first of all, so much goes on at Worlds, but then the free agency doesn't start until after Worlds is over, which means you have because I was asking teams, why don't you trial people? And there are teams that do, like TSM even had their own scouting grounds. But if you are trying to trial people, there's a really narrow timing window that you can do this within. And scouting grounds itself was actually only attended by 2 press members. It was me and it was InVen Global. And that's a huge issue because, again, Riot is promoting this event, so they still get promotion. But one of the things that, as a writer who has kind of come to care about this, scouting grounds is one of my favorite events all year. I think that this year I really want to pay more attention to Academy and Amateur and see if I can shine some light on that, because there's like no attention being paid to this. Like no one is noticing these players, even if they are performing really well in amateur events. And the amount of opportunities they have to do it in front of a crowd or in front of scouts is a lot less than a player in, again, like South Korea, China, Europe. Even, and I'm not going to suggest this as an option because, again, it's like a very grueling schedule, but even Brazil has off-season tournaments where they will trial players on stage.